What's up, True Crime World? You're here with Luminol on the Wall. I'm Bevy.
And I'm Becky. And today's case is about a young woman living abroad who finds herself in the crosshairs of good and evil when her body is found in a tiny crawl space underneath her church. This is a case of Angelika Kluk. Listeners' discretion is advised.
Hello to all of our LOTW friends and family joining in.
Yes, hello to all.
And hey, sister.
Hey, Bevy. How's life treating you?
You know, pretty good, honestly. Update on the babes.
The babes?
I had the anatomy scan for 20 weeks and everything looks good. So,
Yay.
there we go. And we're having a baby boy.
It is a baby boy.
Yes, a little nugget.
Yes.
Little boy.
Little cutie, little baby boy day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Can't wait.
yeah. So that's just the news in my world right now. It's all about baby.
It's all about the babes.
What's new with you?
A couple things.
She's like, I've been waiting to tell you, in fact.
Come on, we've been talking about your baby all week.
Yeah, I literally can't stop talking about it. So
Yeah. So
go ahead.
a little bit about me.
I'll give you your 5-minute, fame.
Oh, thank you, Bevy. Okay, number one.
But
Yeah.
actually, the baby's been kicking so much. I'm just kidding.
It's like, here we go.
I got like a death glare.
Well, what I was going to say is that got me a bloody nose today.
Yes.
I got bonked
Mm-hmm.
at the dog park by, not my dog, someone else's dog. Jabbed my nose ring right into the inside of my nose. Poured blood.
The nose is so sensitive. Like,
Oh, man, it didn't even hurt so bad. I was just like blood everywhere. Do you think I had one napkin?
no.
No.
Your hand.
My hand. In fact, I didn't even know it was bleeding until I wiped my nose, being like, why is my nose running? And I was like, oh, dear God.
It's bleeding.
And I'm like, I hope I don't get like eaten by a dog smelling blood,
I mean, yeah. I feel like that's more so vampires. But
that are real. Yes, Bevy. When animals like smell blood, they want to kill you.
I feel like that was sharks for sure.
For sure. And bears and like all the dangerous animals. But I was at a dog park, so it's the least favorable place to be when you get a nosebleed. That I think we can agree on.
I feel like probably not, but I'll vibe with you on this one. I'll go with it.
Okay, well, I bet a lot of
I could
people
think of worse
agree.
places
Such as?
to get a bloody nose.
Such as?
Well, give me a second here. You put me on the spot now. Like,
None. That's right. You couldn't think of a worse spot.
a what?
Worst spot to get a nosebleed in.
I could. I just am blanking right this moment.
So you can't think of another spot.
I just don't think the dog park's the worst place to get a nosebleed, Becky.
Well, let me know when you think of another one. So,
I will. I'll
anyways.
think about it as we're reading this story.
Yeah, I bet you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
Then halfway through, I'll be like,
I got it.
Thought of it.
My God, I've got it. All right, second, let's talk about the Spotify Wrapped 2024. Did you check yours out, Bev?
I did. And it was exactly what I expected. I had a girl that I work with who was very excited to see hers as well. And I was like, I can guarantee you mine's just Christian music.
Is it?
Yes, because every time I get in the car and I go to work, my Bluetooth just automatically goes to my Christian playlist. And I'm driving, so I'm like, I'm not going to change it to my liked songs, right? So I'm just going to sit there and listen to my Christian music all the way to work and home. And I'm like, every time I'm like, it'd be nice if I could just like change it up a bit. Maybe sometimes listen to my liked songs. But always just kind of lazy. So I guaranteed mine's Hillsong, United, like all those types of
Christian
music.
Lovely.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't feel it's like a fair representation of necessarily like my favorite songs or anything.
That's fair. I mean, you do listen to a lot of Christian music.
I do.
More than anyone else I know.
There you go.
So,
that being said, it has been too much for me recently where I do wish I had my liked songs. So I just knew. I was like, every day I get in the car, I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I forgot to put it to my liked songs. Damn it.
You got to put it to your like songs. The next year you'll get a really fair review of what your music taste is.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
Well,
was yours?
well, my top artists, number 1 is Dinsmore, which
Literally never heard of them.
Yeah, I don't think they're like a super popular band, like minimal following, but you know what? Their one album is so great. My number 1 song is by them. It's called I Feel It. It's awesome. It's a great song. Just hits me in the feels. Anyways, Teddy Swims.
Would you like to say you feel it?
I sure should do every time. So number 2, Teddy Swims.
Lose Control.
Yeah,
I actually saw your post on Instagram.
Okay, well, just ruin it
I
for
forgot
me.
some, but I knew that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then my third is Rufus de Sol. Lighthearted electronic music. Very nice. Not too hard. Avril Lavigne.
Shocking.
I was actually shocked by that too. And 5th, Eminem.
Which I'm shocked by that as well. I know you like Eminem, but I wouldn't say that. Like, I wouldn't even think that would be on your top 5.
I know. I was actually surprised by this, to be honest. I really thought I would have a different top 5.
Guess not.
I was like, wow, did I really listen to all that? Yes, I did. I see where it happens. I have one playlist I've made. It's called Favoritism. And it has all songs from each of those artists in it.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And I listen to that like when I'm in the shower, when I don't want to be too distracted, just background noise, you know?
That makes 100% sense.
Yeah. I had a whole month where I listened to soft country, though.
I love how Becky's like, I was pretty shocked those were my top, but I do have an album literally called Favoritism, and like all of those are in it.
But
Whoa.
I have like 500 songs in it.
Oh.
So to narrow it down is still shocking to me. But I listen to a lot of music all the time, so I am still shocked that that was my grouping. I listen to Spotify too much. I think I need to cut it down. Is the problem, actually, Bev.
Do you think it hinders your life, Rebecca?
No, it only adds to my life.
Well, then let's just not take away the things that we love, okay? There's too much shit in this world going on to take away things that make us truly happy.
I listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
I calculated in minutes what it was today's 74 days of podcasts did I listen to.
That is a lot.
I'm telling you, I need to cut it back a bit. I do. I do sleep listening to Dateline. I listen to it on repeat.
Yeah, I mean...
So I could narrow that down and see a real account, but I know them all. I've heard them. Anyways, I feel a little embarrassed and yet proud of it too. So Bev, and with that being said, let's get into our case today.
Okay. You're like semi in a crisis here.
My
Your
Spotify.
furrowed eyebrows are like, oh my God, I listened to too much Dateline. Is there enough Dateline? There's too much Dateline. Is there such a thing? No, there's not.
No.
And tonight on Dateline, I can't. I'm trying to do his voice.
Keith Morrison.
I am Keith Morrison.
Yeah.
I love when he does like, was it just a coincidence? Maybe. Like, you know, he's so interesting to listen to his voice. God.
That man creates some like intrigue and like
Yeah.
kind of a sexy feeling all in one. You're like, oh, Keith Morrison.
Now we know why you listen to it late at night.
But what about the other two? Come on.
Intrigue and sexiness? I mean, listen. Whoa.
I'm not into like older men, but like there's something
yeah,
about
you fucking are. Like,
there's something about his voice where you're like,
Jamie's literally
he's
6 years older
Bevy,
than you.
that is not older men.
Okay, but it's like
Keith
older.
Morrison is like older than our dad. You little butt. Like, come on, Jamie's not older men.
But you have to admit his face. Like, not bad.
Jamie?
No, Keith
Morrison. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I know you were saying that. I laid a trap and you fell into it. Hot for an old guy. Sexy voice.
He's a good looking guy.
Intrigue.
He sounds funny. I feel like he'd be a good person to talk to. If you saw him on the street,
Now
be
I
like,
just got to tell Jamie. You're like, just put some Dateline on in the back. That's what turns Becky on.
instead of like, oh, Jamie, I'd be like, oh, Keith.
Oh, Keith. Oh, Keith.
Oh, Keith.
He's like, who the fuck is Keith?
Just keep going. Jamie's sitting upstairs right now.
Becky's like nervously twisting her hair right now. Like, guys, whoa. Okay.
Now, ignore
Now you're
everything
rightly
we said.
embarrassed. Let's move on. I feel like this is the way I need to start a podcast. Becky, embarrassed.
That's what gets you going. All right. Our case today is about a woman named Angelika Kluk. She was a vibrant 23-year-old Polish student with big dreams and an impressive drive to achieve them. She was multilingual, speaking Polish, Norwegian, and English fluently. And she had a passion for travel, learning, and connecting with people from different cultures. In Poland, she studied the Norwegian language at Gdańsk University, aspiring to become a translator. In 2004, Angelika spent a little bit of time in Scotland, but after returning home, she realized how much she loved Scotland and made the decision to move to Glasgow in 2006. After all, how could she resist Glasgow? One of the
Wait. I just have to. I know, like, how can you resist Glasgow? Okay, but if I would, like, all I could hear was Keith Morrison in my head. After all, how could she resist Glasgow?
That is totally
like, you know what I mean?
Morrison line.
I like couldn't even help myself. Now I'm all up in a tizzy about Keith Morrison. Hey, Keith Morrison, we love you.
We love you, like, so much.
Anyways, after all, how could she resist Glasgow?
Exactly. It is one of the most vibrant and culturally rich cities in the UK, known for its architecture, music, arts, and warm hospitality.
Got some nice people there.
I would go to Scotland.
It's somewhere I dream to go. Me and Craig have it on our bucket list for sure.
Yeah, you guys do. And have for a while, actually. So while living there, Angelika wanted to improve her English even more, earn some money, and experience life in a new place. She stayed at the Chapel House at St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church in the quiet neighborhood of Anderston. The church was often used for temporary accommodation for students or visitors in need. To support herself, she worked as a cleaner in the church. Those who knew her described Angelika as cheerful, kind, and hardworking. But on September 24th, 2006, everything changed. Angelika disappeared. When she didn't show up for her usual activities, friends and co-workers grew concerned. What raised even more alarm was the fact that she hadn't taken any of her belongings with her. Friends and members of the church community contacted the police and a search for Angelika began. Now, 5 days later, on September 29th, police discovered something chilling inside St. Patrick's Church. While searching the building, they noticed a rectangular piece of carpet in the chapel that seemed just slightly misaligned. When they removed it, they found a small hatch, roughly 70 centimeters long and 50 centimeters wide, leading to a very cramped crawl space beneath the church. What they found inside the crawl space horrified everyone. It was the body of a woman. This discovery shocked the tight-knit church community, as I think it would really shock any community finding a dead body in a church.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the last place you would expect to find one.
Yes, of course. People go there to get saved.
Yes.
Not to die.
Exactly. It's a place of solace, a sanctuary. Now, it was the site of a gruesome crime. The scene posed significant challenges for investigators, though, Beth.
Yeah, like how the fuck are they going to get in there?
Exactly. The crawl space was incredibly confined, with only about 3 feet of clearance, making it pretty difficult to move around without disturbing potential evidence. The experienced crime scene investigators team had to be meticulous. They brought in a powerful light to illuminate the area as one would with a light, and they used metal stands to kneel on or step on, ensuring that they wouldn't accidentally destroy the evidence. Now, what they saw was that the body was partially covered by a green tarp, as well as a black garbage bag, leaving only the section from her waist to her knees exposed. Her knees were bent and her legs were tucked under her body. As investigators started to work, they noticed a foul odor coming from the garbage bag, a smell unmistakably associated with decomposition. Initially, they feared that they might have discovered another victim, but when they opened the garbage bag, it revealed blood-soaked clothes, a knife, a sheet stuck together with green paint, and a small block of wood. So it was just the bloody clothes that were rotting, basically. All these items were carefully collected and sent for forensic testing.
Do you love true crime and travel? Having traveled the world solo the last couple of years and being obsessed with true crime, I found myself researching others who took the same vacations but never made it home. The Last Trip is a true crime podcast covering missing and murdered people that were living their best lives on vacation. I'm your host, Jamie Beebe, and each week I'll bring you on the last trip, taking a deep dive into vacation culture and travel spots, tips on staying alive while traveling, and ultimately recreating someone's last days in paradise. What led to their last trip? What are the hard facts? What is the final outcome? And could you be next? David Snedden was a 24-year-old college student from Utah attending Mandarin classes in Beijing when he mysteriously disappeared while hiking Tiger Leaping Gorge. Chinese authorities said he drowned in the gorge, and U.S. authorities agreed, although his body was never found and his parents didn't believe that. 7 years later, out of the blue, they got a phone call from a former U.S. official who had evidence David is still alive. This case sounds like a Hollywood movie, but evidence doesn't lie. So where is David Snedden? Famous rugby player and Celebrity X Factor contestant Levi Davis went missing in Barcelona last year while on a backpacking trip through Europe. Just days before he vanished, he posted a 15-minute video to his Instagram account saying his life was in danger and people were after him. After he disappeared, several theories emerged. But what really happened to Levi Davis? Join me, Jamie Beebe, co-host of the popular true crime series Strictly Stalking, as I embark on a brand new adventure combining true crime and travel. Listen to The Last Trip wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, my name is Kristen Riguidel, and I'm a licensed insurance broker across Canada and in the United States. But I want to ask you a question. Is life super predictable? No, there's always going to be curveballs in life, but there's two things that I can guarantee you. One, we're all going to have to pay taxes, and two, we're all going to die. I know, it's morbid, right? But it's true. And that's where life insurance comes in. Life insurance is a selfless act. At the end of the day, it's meant for your loved ones in the event you were to pass away unexpectedly. And not that money can ever replace us, but I always liked the idea of leaving some money behind for my brothers, whether that be for their college education, or a down payment on a house, or even just time off of work to grieve. Because the last thing I would want for my family is to have to go to work and pay the bills while they're grieving. And so life insurance gives you the peace of mind that no matter when you pass away, your loved ones are taken care of. With flexible plans, affordable premiums, and coverage that fits your unique needs, I do the shopping around for you so that you can get the protection without the hassle, because taking care of your future doesn't have to be complicated. If you'd like to discuss options, you can send me an email at krigidel15lrxc@wfgmail.ca or give me a phone call at 403-785-7670 to learn more and get a free quote today, so you can live tomorrow with peace of mind.
Now, when the tarp and garbage bag were removed, it became very clear that the victim was Angelika Kluk. She was fully clothed, although her pants were unbuttoned and unzipped. She was lying in a pool of her own blood. The initial inspection revealed the brutal nature of the crime. She had been bound, gagged, and stabbed multiple times. The attack was savage, and forensic evidence confirmed the horrifying detail that Angelika had been alive for much of the ordeal. The investigators believed the crime was most likely sexually motivated, and there were semen samples and other forensic evidence collected from her body to create a DNA profile in the hope of identifying her killer. You know, I think that's really the only one of 2 times you can say thank God for semen.
The other time being when you get pregnant?
Yeah, pregnant and identifying a suspect.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of another thing that I'd be thankful for semen for, but I think that pretty much covers it up.
Sums it up. Now, the police wasted no time getting Angelika Kluk's autopsy results. The findings were horrific. Her cause of death was blunt force trauma to her head, and wood filings were discovered in the wound. She had multiple stab wounds to her torso and a bunch of defensive wounds on her hands and arms. And evidence did show that she had been sexually assaulted like they thought. Her mouth had been gagged with yellow insulation tape, which was stained with her blood. Despite the contamination, investigators managed to lift a partial fingerprint from the lower layers of the tape. Unfortunately, it wasn't complete enough to identify a suspect in the database, but they were able to preserve the DNA evidence from the tape for further testing. Detectives were absolutely certain this brutal crime didn't occur under the floor where Angelika's body was found.
That's fair. I mean, there were wood chips in her wounds.
You know, it was only 3 feet tall.
Yes.
Might be hard to kill someone in that space.
Especially with the stab wounds and just the nature of how she was murdered, right?
Exactly. Based on witness statements, they focused on searching the church grounds for the crime scene. Witnesses had last seen Angelika in the church garage, so that's where they started. At first glance, the garage seemed pretty neat and tidy. It had a bunch of paint and furniture in it. It didn't seem out of the ordinary, but a sharp-eyed CSI team member noticed a small drop of blood on the dark concrete floor. That single drop led to more blood stains being seen on the floor. They were also on the walls and even the ceiling.
It seems likely that this is where the crime scene took place.
Yes.
Just like if it's on the ceiling, right, and you're stabbing someone, I
Mm-hmm.
think as you lift the knife up, I would think that would, the trajectory of the bloodstains would go upwards.
Yeah.
So it would seem like, to make sense, that's how it got on the ceiling.
Yes.
And also, there was a lot of paint in there. There was also paint on her clothing. So
Seems logical, right?
Yeah, it could be the crime scene.
Yeah. Well, everything you just said is right in line with what everyone's seeing. And so the blood that was on the walls and the ceiling, it wasn't just random blood. It was impact spatter consistent with someone being struck, as well as cast-off patterns that suggested blood flying off a swinging object. So
Exactly.
you hit that nail on the head, Bev. Now, the testing confirmed that the blood matched Angelika's. Detectives now believed that the garage was the site of the initial attack, if not the murder itself.
It is very interesting that this is where the attack took place, where at least it's thought to have taken place, because now you have potential, you can narrow down your potential suspects, right? Like, a little bit. You actually have a place to start. You're like, okay, maybe if the attack actually happened in the church, maybe it was somebody who worked at the church with her or was a part of the church community that had access to this place, right? I know she was also found in the church, so that also makes sense, but this also just kind of confirms it even further.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it kind of gives them a direction to go in to start questioning people.
Exactly.
You know? Now, what was interesting about this garage is that it connected directly to the church, like the main church, like with all the pews and, where they do their sermons and stuff like that. And that's where the little floor hole was found.
The floor hole. I really can't with you. I don't know. Your, fixation on the word hole is really mind-blowing right now.
Okay.
It's like crawl space, trapdoor. Becky's
Thank you.
The
It's
floor
not a
hole,
trapdoor.
The floor hole.
I literally was just trying to think of oh my God, what did I write down it was called? And then I blanked and I said the floor hole.
I know, your go-to is hole. It's I can't handle it. Oh, man, Becky.
So anyways, there was a direct door connecting the garage to the giant room with the floor hole. So they thought, how did she get there? What was the transport like? Because obviously they had to get her there. And so they searched the pathway to see if there was any blood connecting the two areas, but there wasn't. So investigators theorized that she had been wrapped up in the tarp that was found with her and used to conceal her body and keep the place kind of clean, right?
Yes, and then transported into the church crawl space.
Crawl space, not floor hole.
Have you ever seen that video?
What video?
Where it's that box and there's all these different shapes. Do you know what I mean? And then someone puts the shape into the hole and they're like, do you know where this shape is going to go? It's a triangle. And the girl's like, yes, the triangle hole. And he's like, the square hole. And she's like, oh God. And he's like, now, where is this one going to go? It's like a hexagon. She's like, the hexagon. In the hexagon or something, and they're like, that's right, you got it, in the square hole. And she's like, oh my God.
I have seen that. She's losing her mind, just
Yeah.
everything is not right with the world right now.
It's
everything that I thought is not.
but as you're saying floor hole, I'm like,
That's what you're thinking of.
It doesn't
That's
go
right,
in.
Becky,
Yeah.
the floor hole. Uh-oh.
It's like, where does the body go? Does it go in the crawl space? No. It goes in the floor hole.
It's the same
like,
thing.
holy crap.
That's all you can think of, hey?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for that visualization, I guess. Or you're welcome, I don't know.
It is what it is.
It is. All right, Bev. Well, at this point, the police begin interviewing Angelika's friends, family, co-workers, and from these conversations, they began compiling a list of 4 men that they wanted to speak with. 3 were quickly located and ruled out, but 1 man was MIA. His name was Pat McLaughlin. He was a handyman at St. Patrick's Church, and witnesses said Angelika had been last seen building a garden shed with Pat shortly before her disappearance. Despite their efforts, Pat was nowhere to be found, though.
Okay. We're obviously putting pieces of, like, evidence together with the story.
Right.
Or, like, as a listener. And if she was last seen in a garden shed,
Building a garden shed.
or building a garden shed, no less, that could realistically explain the wood chips, right?
In her head?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could.
Like, if they're working on that, that's just like a transfer of material. It could happen so easily.
Yeah,
Pat's looking pretty guilty.
Pat's looking pretty guilty.
But he's nowhere to be found.
What to do next, Bev?
Find Pat.
Find Pat. As they searched for him, DNA results from the semen collected from Angelika's body came back. And when it had been entered into the database, it matched a man named Peter Tobin.
Okay, what?
Police soon realized Peter Tobin was Pat McLaughlin.
Of
he had just
course.
he had just been using a false identity.
Whoa.
So now, Mr. Peter Tobin has become their prime suspect. However, they still cannot find him. So over the next few days, more evidence poured in. The knife that was found in the garbage bag with Angelika's body had her blood on it, along with fingerprints that matched Peter. Police also recovered DNA and fingerprints from the garbage bag and the tape used to gag Angelika, which further linked Tobin to the crime. Now, what was a little concerning is as investigators dug into Tobin's history, they discovered he was far more dangerous than they'd initially realized. Probably why he used his little fake identity there. So in 1993, Tobin had drugged, raped, and assaulted 2 teenage girls who were babysitting his son. He had tied them up, left them in his apartment, but one of the girls managed to escape and alert authorities. And in 1994, Peter Tobin was convicted of rape and sexual assault against these 2 girls.
And who's to say that if she hadn't escaped, what would have happened to her and her friend? And also, does he have no shame?
I
Like,
don't
they're
think so.
babysitting his son.
I know.
Like, they're doing you a favor, and this is how you treat them, you know? Like, I guess a lot of criminals are opportunistic. This is a great opportunity. Yes. Like, I say that in hand quotes because it's terrible. But for a person who has evil intentions, it would be. But seriously, have you no shame?
None.
Like, damn.
So, finding out how dangerous Peter Tobin is,
Yes.
they alert everyone and anyone, and a nationwide manhunt was launched. Police warned the public not to approach Tobin as he was considered armed and dangerous. Meanwhile, the search of the church grounds continues. Investigators discover a pair of bloodstained jeans and a wooden table leg outside the building, partially buried. The table leg matched the wood filings found in Angelika's head wound, as well as the small wooden block that was in the garbage bag. And both the jeans and table leg tested positive for Angelika's DNA.
Okay, so the wood chips from the garden or whatever had nothing to do with this. It was just a weird coincidence.
It was from the table leg. Now, with those jeans that they found, the bloodstained jeans, they also tested the inside waistband and the zipper for DNA that came back as Peter Tobin's. So now they have like outside factors like outside the church that you can't explain both their DNA on those items, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least like maybe in the church, like they both work there.
That's true.
There's a little bit.
No, it's evidence that really links him to the crime specifically.
Yeah, exactly. So while the investigation is still continuing, we know the news about Peter Tobin was out to the public. And 400 miles away in London, a nurse became suspicious of a Scottish patient named James Kelly. He appeared to resemble Peter Tobin, so she contacted the police, and when officers arrived, they confirmed that the patient's true identity as Peter Tobin and arrested him. And they immediately seized Tobin's possessions. This included the clothing he was wearing and a watch. When they tested the watch, there were small traces of blood in the links of the band with traces of Angelika's blood. And Peter Tobin's shirt tested positive for his semen, and mixed in it with his DNA was Angelika's DNA as well.
Damning.
Yes. Despite this overwhelming evidence, Tobin maintained his innocence.
Of course he did.
Deny, deny, deny. We see it time and time again, Bev.
We do.
So he's charged with the murder of Angelika Kluk. And Tobin's trial began on March 23rd, 2007 at the High Court of Judiciary in Edinburgh. His defense team argued that he and Angelika had consensual sex, claiming the evidence was purely circumstantial. However, the jury found him guilty on May 4th, 2007, after 6 weeks of testimony.
Wow. To claim that the evidence was solely circumstantial is beyond me.
Yeah.
Like maybe with like the initial things they found, right? But the DNA, the wood peg, you know?
All the
semen
DNA
mixed with her blood.
Oh, come on, man.
Her blood on his watch? Give me a break.
Yeah, like, I know you're reaching, but that's too far.
Yeah.
So silly.
So silly.
So eventually Tobin was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 21 years. Now, even before Tobin's trial, police suspected Angelika's murder wasn't Peter Tobin's first. They felt the ease and confidence at which he created and used false identities made them believe that he had done this several times before, and that if he was to change his identity, there has to be a reason for it. So they launched Operation Anagram, involving 43 police forces across the UK to cross-reference Tobin's movements over 25 years with unsolved cases in the area. 2 cases stood out: the disappearance of 15-year-old Vicky Hamilton in 1991 and 18-year-old Dina McNichol the same year. This led the police in June 2007 to search Tobin's former home in Margate, uncovering a dagger in the rafters. On November 14th, a couple months later, 2007, human remains were found in the garden.
No.
Yes. DNA confirmed they were Vicky Hamilton.
Shut the front door.
I know.
In the garden. What is up with this dude and being in the garden?
He just likes a good garden.
Damn.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I have to say, like, I'm very impressed with the investigators' Operation Anagram, because to be able to cross-reference his movements into crimes throughout, like, the UK is really impressive. That must have been a shit ton of work.
Yeah.
And, like, kudos to that investigative, like, team.
Yeah, because they ultimately could have left it with Angelika.
Totally.
They could have.
But, like, that's just impressive.
It is. And they followed a hunch, and it's paying off. Now, what's interesting, Bev, is how they actually found Vicky's remains initially is like a radar, like a I want to say sonar, but I feel like that's wrong. I can't remember what I read, but it basically just analyzes the depth of the dirt to see where there's disturbances. And so they did his whole yard and his whole property, and they finally found that one area.
Lo and behold.
That showed there was a disturbance a long time ago, dug it up, and that's how they found Vicky Hamilton. Now, 2 days later, on November 16th, 2007, a second body was unearthed next to the first, later identified as Dina McNichol. Now, the dagger that was found was tested and confirmed to have Vicky's DNA and Peter's fingerprint on it. Like, Peter, why would you hide it in the rafters?
He obviously was, like, never thought he would be caught.
Yeah. Like, he was clearly pretty confident, right?
Yeah, like, get rid of it.
I know.
Like, in some other area.
Yeah. You
But
foolish man.
Just literally didn't think he would get caught, right?
Exactly. Well, and, I mean, good thing he was so confident, because that really what they were able to tie that all to him, right?
Right, of course.
From that. So it ended up being good. Now, with this evidence, Tobin was convicted of both murders, receiving 2 additional life sentences. And thank God for that. Evil is 100% off the street. No.
Yeah, there's no way he's getting parole after 21 years, right? Like, give me a break.
21 plus 2 additional life sentences.
Right. Like, there's just no way now.
No way.
Yeah, he's going to stay in prison for the rest of his life.
For life.
As he should.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, Peter Tobin died on October 8th, 2022. He was 76, and he died from pneumonia complications. At the time, he also had a broken femur.
Oof.
He fell. Brittle bones.
Oh, just fell.
Just fell in his cell.
I was thinking like some, I don't know, attack in prison, you know, but no.
No, it was pretty like, no, just a little accident. Now, his ashes were scattered at sea after no family or friends claimed his body.
Not even his son.
Nope. He said, sorry, you're a serial killer. No, thank you.
Yep.
Evil.
I don't want that evil juju in my life.
No way. And while police couldn't definitively link him to other murders in the area, Operation Anagram left a cloud of suspicion around at least 10 other cases, ranging from 1969 to 2006 within the United Kingdom. Some of these crimes, there had been circumstantial evidence that potentially pointed towards Peter Tobin. Some of the examples were that he lived in the areas these women went missing in. Some of the dates that Peter Tobin had uprooted his family and moved far away without warning coincides with some of the murders and disappearances. There were also some weird coincidences. One woman's diary entry had made a reference to a Mr. Tobin. There was jewelry recovered from Tobin's possessions by Operation Anagram and is thought to be similar to what one woman had been seen wearing before she was murdered. And many of the victims were bound and gagged similar to Angelika Kluk. Again, he has never been found guilty of any of these other crimes, but like I said, a cloud of suspicion looms over Peter Tobin.
Of course. I mean, those are, I get it, they're circumstantial. That's not going to prove anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're like, if you uproot your family and just move, at the same time someone goes missing, right? And you're creating all these false identities along the way, like you're hiding and running from something.
Exactly. Like it is totally possible that he committed more crimes than
the ones he was charged for.
Exactly. Now, I do need to admit some of those crimes they had other suspects for, but most of these are unsolved. So we just don't know. Now, Angelika Kluk's murder was a heartbreaking tragedy that exposed a predator hiding in plain sight. Her case became a key to uncovering Tobin's other crimes, offering some closure to families who might otherwise never have known the fate of their loved ones.
A silver lining, right?
Yes, absolutely. If a crime is to be committed, at least it helps solve multiple crimes.
Yeah, exactly. And get someone who is a danger to society put in prison.
Exactly. And I think, get him out of society, I think he would have killed again. Let's be real.
100%. He's obviously a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I mean, to do it in a church is just does that make murder that much worse?
I mean, yeah, a little bit. It's just one of those weird things where you're like, not in the fucking church, buddy.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, he knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts working at a church. I just sometimes wonder, predators, do they put themselves in situations where they could find vulnerable people? Do they go to a church because a lot of churchgoers hope, at least you would think, to see good in people,
Yeah, maybe
be more helpful, more community driven. You never know, right? That's a lot of what churches stand for.
Yeah.
At times. So do they put themselves in those situations where finding a victim might be
easier?
I
mean, we'll never know, but I could see how that would benefit them with their outcome being murdering or in sexual assault, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Bev, this is a case of Angelika Kluk. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing. And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias.
You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.